You're watching NappyCast by Jason Nappy. Weather. The cold front is through to the north, but it's still warm and humid to the south. Got a little system spinning there across the mid-south right now. Take a look at the surface analysis. Set the picture here as we get ready for the weekend. Not a holiday weekend, but it is Father's Day weekend, right? Here's the cold front that has come through the northeast. Cooler Canadian air coming down from the north here. There's your high pressure system. Here is your stationary boundary. It separates the warm and humid air south, cooler air from the north here. Okay, and obviously it's just hot in the desert southwest where you'd expect it to be. So we'll talk about that in the forecast, and I'm going to focus in on Father's Day weekend and show you these fronts that are coming through. So that high pressure system I showed you that's over Canada, that is going to suppress this area of moisture coming along this jet stream here. It's a little trough swinging through. So not as much rain makes it up into Maine as far as like Bangor and the Katahdin region north. Most of it will be Augusta south tonight and tomorrow. And then down in the southeast, you get your pop-up showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. High pressure out west, so it'll keep cooking out there. It'll continue to be hot as it will be for the next several months. Now, looking at the satellite picture here, you can see where the cloud cover is. You can see where that boundary is to the north here, where temperatures have warmed up quite a bit, 60s and 70s here. That's obviously in Celsius, but you get the idea here. So looking off to the north, you have the cloud cover that's going right here through Canada, northern New Hampshire, Vermont, and down towards the mid-coast of Maine. So here's where that cold front is coming down, cooling things off. Cold front has actually come all the way down here, 50s and 60s here, but you see where the clouds are still filling in, okay? And it's still warm in the 70s south of that. So there's the front. Look at the picture where temperatures here. So pull the clouds away so you can really see the temperatures here. 50s and 60s to 70s. Much cooler around high pressure with cooler air coming down, but still warm and south here. Warm and humid to the south, obviously. And we don't have any big weather makers, big storms coming our way on the weather highways. So no big areas of precip. But we do have here, it's the look up in the sky, 25,000 feet, the weather highway. So take a look at the jet stream and what's going on as these storms ride along the weather highway. This is the mid-level look at the atmosphere. Okay, not quite up to the, all the way up to the jet stream around 300 millibars, but at 500 millibars, so midway up in the atmosphere here, you see where your highs and lows are, where your ridges and troughs are. You got a big ridge out west. This is Sunday, which is going to pump in heat upper Midwest. You still have a little influence of a big trough here way up in Canada, okay? So it'll stay cool and chilly in northern New England to start next week, for Sunday into next week, okay? So I want to point that out because we're not going to see a big warm-up until later in the week. We do see some ridging develop in the forecast, and then another trough comes through for around Friday, Saturday, and we'll get to all that in the forecast. But first, talk about the rainfall here for the, I want to call it a holiday weekend because it's Father's Day, but it's not technically a holiday. But so look at the rainfall trend. This is for Saturday to Sunday. And notice here, because of this high coming in, that moisture is trending south here. So it's a lot heavier over the tri-state back towards Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. So here's your tri-state here. They get hammered with the rain. Okay, we do not get it up in northern New England quite as much because that high comes in with that dry air from the north, okay? So then things kind of quiet down for a few days before we get into Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and we'll see if a cold front can come through. But if I take a look here and show you the AI model, long range, okay, start to dip in the toes into this pond here of the AI modeling, okay? So here's a look at the European AI. So I want to take you straight out until Monday, June 23rd. So now the summer solstice has passed. That's Friday. And then look at here. So the AI is showing a big ridge in the east and a big trough in the west, okay? So what would this mean if this was to happen, right? So first of all, if this amps up to this level, we'd get ridiculous heat in the east and it'd be very chilly in the west. I don't quite expect that. But this, obviously, we're looking out several days. This is out Monday, June 23rd. But what this signal to me is, this doesn't show a classic summer pattern where you would just have this zonal jet stream, okay, with just high pressure, Bermuda high here, and not a lot in the way of cold fronts. You don't typically see this. So right now, the AI is seeing something. I'm not fully on board with it just yet, of a big ridge in the east. This is not something you typically see in summertime, but it is June, and we have seen more troughs come through, and then we're going to have another trough to come through next week, which I think is going to happen. So as far as the forecasting goes here, long range, it's very volatile. It does not center and set up to just one pattern of a big trough. Now, some of the ensemble guidance, the models here, is also showing big ridges popping up. So right now it looks to be, I think, more muted and not quite in the full on crazy heat summer pattern. That's a look at the long range stuff. Take the short range stuff now, as I show my local followers here, loyal followers in Maine, a little more detail. I'll continue to talk about the long range pattern next couple of weeks, mid to long range. But for now, let's talk about the weekend. Much cooler with showers south, warming up next week. We're not going to be in the mid 80s again like we were yesterday along the coastline and inland. It's not going to happen today with that cold front coming down from the north here and that cooler air working its way in. So a much cooler several days on the 10-day forecast. It wouldn't be until late next week, and then not pictured is the 23rd I talked about, right? So right now I'm keeping things warming up late next week. I've taken the 80s out of the forecast for the mountains. Don't expect us to get there quite yet. However, a cold front does push in, so 80s inland on Thursday, 82, but that is nothing crazy high. The temperatures is above average, but that, typically we're in the 70s this time of the year. So that is nothing that is going to break any records or anything even close. But we do have a front coming through on Thursday. That's where the trend is going. So temperatures are in the 50s and 60s. We do warm up mid to late next week, but I don't see the record heat just yet. That would be the following week if we were to get a big ridge, especially off to our west. That's the spot in Maine. If it's off to our west, that's about as hot as it gets. Now, if it's to our south, the ridge, then we get very humid weather. Right now, we'll see where that ridge sets up in the forecast going forward. Thank you for watching, nappycast.com.